So what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? So we are back to our Grand Cru Classe series. I always get excited when I talk about Grand Cru Classe because, first of all, they're the best of the best wines that are made in Bordeaux. But when I identify these properties, if you're new to the format and you don't know how we actually do this, we point out on the map, but we also want to point to the bottle because this is called Leoville Poyferre. And you can see this is the 2020 vintage. It's the 100th year of the Cuvelier family owning the property, so it's beautiful gold etched bottles. You got little LPs on the top here because we affectionately call Leoville Poyferre LP if you're not sure how to pronounce it. So that's why we kind of like refer to this as LP now. But we want to point out on the map because a lot of people don't know this is in Saint Julien. So we got right here where it's right under Pauillac, and it's this little green area right here. The proximity to the river is quite extraordinary, but the proximity to Pauillac is also quite extraordinary. But this property is part of the Leoville group. So if you remember now, I did Leoville Escasse, I did Leoville Barton, and now this is the final of the Leovilles. At one time, this was all encompassed as to one property. Could you imagine? We're talking well over 200, 300 acres of land all under one property, but we can identify that with Hugh Johnson's book. So you can see exactly, it's right next door to Leoville Escasse, and you can see its proximity to the river. I mean, you've got Bécheval. These are all the heavyweights of Bordeaux, I always call it. And, traditionally though, Bordeaux estates were named after their owners or their founders, but this Leoville Poyferre has a long and winding road starting in 1638. So that's how old this property is. So the domain remained in the same family for over 100 years, but we're talking today, Leoville is one of the biggest vineyards in all of Bordeaux. But this is actually a beautiful property. I've had a chance to meet the Cuvelier brothers. I want to give a shout out to Didier too, who's running this property. And these are magnificent wines, and we're talking a high percentage of Cabernet Sauvignon. So power, elegance. When you get a great vintage like this 2020, it's called the LP Magic. It just shows off that cassis and tobacco and all the graphite, all the beautiful things that this wine actually encompasses. We also want to show you a little bit here. This is Ferret's book, and you can see that it shares the same area as near Guad-la-Rose, and but Leoville Poyferre, it's a what we call a super second growth. And just to give you a little highlights on this 2020, which is exceptional. This is when I say it's got a lot of graphite, but we're talking 64% Cabernet, 31% Merlot, 3% Cabernet Franc, and a little bit of Petit Verdot, just aged in 80% new barrel. About 13.5% alcohol, so not too bad. But this wine is going to evolve for 50 years or more. But when you, I think I told you before, when you buy a vintage like 2020 and you get the opportunity to buy a wine like this, you buy magnums too, because when you have the ability to buy futures, which is what we did in 2020, we bought these en première before the wine even gets bottled, and then they give us our desire of what we want. We can keep the bottles here, but in a great vintage like 2020 and 100 year anniversary, we had to bottle magnums because it's such a special wine with this commemorative bottling. It's going to be starting to rise in price because guess what? There's not a lot of these bottles around. So for more information, obviously you can contact my YouTube channel, Instagram. We're on Twitter as well, and if you can follow us on LinkedIn, a lot of our videos show up there. But I really wanted to talk about this wine because guess what? This is a 100-point potential wine, and we're talking a wine that rivals Lafite and Mouton and Margaux and Aubryon. In a vintage like this, these wines will achieve almost that same type of 100-point power we talk about that only few wines in Bordeaux can actually amass. So the 2020 Leoville Poyferre is a wine to definitely pay attention to because this is one of the stars. Michel Rolland is working with this property for a number of years. Our friend is really, making these wines better and better every year. But this is a wine to pay attention to. Leoville Escasse, a little more money than Leoville Poyferre, but when you do taste these wines side by side, you can see the depth and the power, and probably more akin to Pauillac than I would say Saint Julien, but the best of Saint Julien. Again, this is a Grape Explorer. Just wanted to give some highlights here on a great property that we feel is one of the cutting edge properties in all of Bordeaux, LP, Chateau Leoville Poyferre. Cheers.